It's finally here. It's game week. Bryce Underwood is the starter. Let's go. Locked On Wolverines podcast.
You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Monday. Now we are really back in doing it. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I'm your man on the ground, Isaiah Hole, publisher of Wolverines Wire through USA Today Sports Media Group. And man, it is unbelievable to finally be here. I think it's surreal. I don't believe what I watched in week 0 were real games. I think it was some kind of weird exhibition. Pinching myself here because we are in game week officially. Michigan will be hosting New Mexico. We are going to get into, obviously, the news that broke late last night, on top of just the game week stuff, about Bryce Underwood being named the starter. That shocking news to everybody. Hashtag breaking. But we'll get into that nonetheless. Then we're going to get a little bit. ESPN and CBS seem to be on kind of opposing sides on what they think of Michigan football. This is kind of our last bastion of the preseason stuff. And then finally, we're just going to kind of have some game week milieu, just kind of hodgepodge of things. So that's what we're going to do today. Thank you for everyone for making us your first listen. And thank you to all of our everydayers. You are the true fans, the ones who that make this thing go. So we do appreciate that as well. Let's start in with the breaking news, hashtag breaking, of the, or how did my friend Ted Hauser used to do that for the hashtag? He would double tap, 2 fingers. That's right. Back when Twitter was brand new. Yeah, so obviously breaking news. It hasn't been declared to us in the media yet, but that is coming in, approximately an hour and a half-ish. When we meet with Sharon Moore for his Monday morning press conference. But Sharon, well, not Sharon, but CBS Sports, and then On 3, and then M Live, and then everyone confirmed that Bryce Underwood is going to be named the starter today. Sounds like the team was alerted to this yesterday. This is brand new information. Listen, we all know it, right? Like, I'm sure there's a couple of you that are you know, more of the trolley types that would be like, "What, Isaiah, you didn't say that." And that's like, well, I said it 18,000 times. Not literally. Don't go and try to count. But that's I know how the trolls on the show work. But yeah, we knew that this was going to be happening for quite some time. The writing was on the wall. I think the moment that Mikey Keene couldn't go in spring ball, Mikey Keene might not have been able to hold him off. Right. I think that in an ideal world, Mikey Keene would be starting at least these first couple games, maybe the first 4. Like, we've long looked at this as a Kelly Bryant, Trevor Lawrence situation. And that situation was no different. Kelly Bryant started the first 4 games, then Trevor Lawrence started. So that's kind of, I think, what the intent was. Didn't go that way. And it would have been really hard for Mikey Keene to hold him off anyway. But I just want to give you a little bit of a recap, a refresher here. Now that we're getting into game week, Bryce is going to have another week of practice, right? But ultimately, like, what are we looking at? What was he able to do so far? Well, he got to participate in about 2/3 of bowl prep, right? Like, the time that he shows up is a little bit later. So like they'd already been in bowl prep, but he shows up in 2/3, maybe a half of bowl prep, something like that. So he gets like what out of 15 practices? Let's say he got like 7 to 10 in, something like that. Granted, not with the ones or anything like that. I mean, I guess we don't know. Maybe they decided to do that, and hence they were like, we just got to run the ball as much as possible against Alabama. Then he got 15 practices in the spring, and then he got 15 practices again with the ones and in fall camp. So you're looking at a guy that's had about 40 practices already. By the time he gets to the actual game, we're looking at about 45 practices. I don't remember because like I was following pretty closely, but not so closely that I was a sicko like we all are now here. Anyway, if anyone, just so you know, if you watch the show, if you're an everydayer, you're a sicko a little bit, but I'm a sicko for hosting this show and all of that. in a good way, right? But like, I don't remember if Tate Forcier enrolled early, right? Like maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But like there's other, freshmen, maybe not quarterbacks, that don't necessarily get all that time on task that Bryce has, right? When you consider like 45 practices, if you have about, between 4 and 5 practices a week, I don't know exactly how many you have. That might be like 4 in a walkthrough or something like that. You think about that. Okay, so you've got that many. He's got 45. You're looking about half a season's worth of practices that he's already gotten under his belt. So that's already huge that he's got that he's going to be able to have that going into going into this into this first game. And obviously, it could be a different situation if it was a much bigger opponent right out the gates. But this is a moment for him to be able to kind of get his feet wet. And I did like a little bit of a stat projection. Everyone keeps on asking me on Thursday, what's your stat projection? What's your stat projection for Bryce? It ended up being something like, and I'm trying to think off the top of my head, I think it was like 28-25. That's a pretty high number for a true freshman, to be honest. As far as yards are concerned, it was an average of like 230. I had a couple games, I think 2, where he was under 200 yards. And then I had one where he hit 300. Only one. Otherwise, we're all in the 200 range, varying degrees and everything like that. So, again, like just everything I've heard about him from behind the scenes is glowing and exemplary. I understand the spring game didn't necessarily give you the stat line that would give you the warm and fuzzies, but if you watch the spring game and like recognize A, the split squad, B, like the ball placement, the accuracy, all that kind of stuff, it was spot on. Now, I do still have concerns. We'll get to some of those concerns in segment 3, but like I am still concerned about the wide receivers and offensive line, right? Like nothing is necessarily allayed those concerns, and nothing will until I see it in person when it's happening, because we've been through the fall camp talk before. We've heard it all year upon year upon year. Now they got the quarterback. The offense should be a heck of a lot better just by virtue of that. But there's still a lot that I want to see. So, but nonetheless, good first step, good first opponent for Bryce to get his feet wet. You hope you don't see a lot of mistakes. I think 28-25, I think 18 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. That's my final stat line for him after 12 games. I mean, that's a pretty high number for 12 games. So anyway, we will see. All right, we're gonna move on because we've got a lot to do, and we gotta get to Ann Arbor to officially hear this. So let's get to that here in just a moment. Before we do, guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them, but if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Ready. Rugiet Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rugiet's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast, on average in 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. If traditional options haven't worked, Rugiet might be the answer. Over 150,000 men have already made the switch. It's completely online. Rugiet connects you with a board-certified doctor and ships your treatment discreetly to your door. You can even read real customer reviews on their site, so it's helping a lot of people feel more confident and present in the moment. Head to Rugiet.com/LockedOnCollege and use the code LockedOnCollege. Get 15% off today. That's Rugiet.com/LockedOnCollege. And use the promo code LockedOnCollege for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rugiet website for full safety information. This is the earliest I think we've done a show in probably years. It's before 10 o'clock. That you can thank my new running regimen for this. That like the hope and the goal during the season is to have more shows out earlier than doing the late afternoon. We want to try to get these out earlier. That's the hope and the goal. But because of that, we're going to have me say things like, I got to get to Ann Arbor and we'll do that here in just a moment in the last transition. The mind grapes aren't all firing exactly. I forgot to mention Bryce Underwood on BTN, and we'll move on to ESPN and CBS here in a moment. But on the fall camp preview where he's saying, ain't nobody seen a freshman like me. You ain't never had a friend like me. You know, I think I love the moxie. I don't think it's full born cockiness, but it is confidence borderlining on it. And as long as he has a humility inside the building and doesn't also just like, I mean, I guess I wouldn't mind if he just came out like swinging at the rivals, but he kind of, he said like, it's all about beating Ohio State, winning the national championship. Okay, cool. I love it, but you better go out there and prove it. That's the only thing, right? You can talk if you win. And even though he's a true freshman, if you talk, man, you're putting a target on your back. So, he already is going to have a target on his back. He's a 5-star, number 1 player in the country. So, all of that. All right. So let's get into ESPN FPI. Kind of surprised me. They have Michigan ranked 15th in their final preseason ranking. I think that's not a surprise, right? Michigan's ranked 14th. According to both the coaches poll and the AP. But when you go game by game, it's, I guess, like, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. You go game by game, they only have Michigan losing 2 games all season right now. The FPI predictor, the game predictor, has Michigan winning the first 5 games of the season, losing on the road at USC, which I don't think is egregious, and then losing to Ohio State at the end of the year, which has been, they've done it at each of the last 4 years. I think maybe in 2023, by the time that the game rolled around, Michigan was the favorite, but like generally that's not surprising that ESPN's FPI has Ohio State winning that game. At some point you think they'd put some rivalry weight on it, but right now Ohio State's, I mean, they're not even number 1 in their FPI poll rather, but Michigan's SP plus ranking is number 8 in the country. So you can see the advanced analytics are higher on Michigan than, say, Shayan Jayaraja over at CBS Sports, who had Michigan as one of his 5 teams that he is currently ranked that he expects to be unranked. Well, he's one of the writers of several in this article, but he expects Michigan to end up unranked. And to that, it's like, I look at that and say, like, it's kind of like the rival thinking is what a lot of the media have, where they look and they completely dismiss the way the season ended last year. Sharon went on BTN and even said, like, I expect the defense, you saw it against Alabama. That's what we expect it to continue to be throughout the season. They look and say, okay, that was a paper tiger. It's going to get worse. The offense, though improved, is not going to be markedly better. Now, I think it will be markedly better, even with my concerns. I still, like, concerns are still there, very much so. No Colston Loveland, like, but you've got Donovan McCulley, who has at least the track record. Anthony Simpson has the track record. Lots of hype about Samaj Morgan, Fred Moore, hearing more about Kendrick Bell, who was my inflection player last year. So there's a lot there, but like, you're essentially, if you're saying Michigan's going to end up unranked, I'm doubting it's because you see them losing a 3rd game. You probably see them losing a 4th and maybe even a 5th, right? Like, you expect that Michigan, every team on the schedule that was middling last year is going to get better. Michigan, who was 8-5, is going to get worse or stay the same, right? Like, essentially, it's the thing we always say. Michigan is one of the only teams in college football that's not allowed to get better. A lot of other teams, USC, Penn State. I mean, Penn State this year, fine, fair. But like, some of these teams, it's like they don't necessarily have like a massive overhaul in the offseason. It's just like they have a bad season and then you just next year, it's like a media reset and they're like, oh, well, they're going to be great now. Michigan is not usually that team. So ESPN even went further with a different article saying like smart bets to take, and they had Michigan as the smart bet to take at plus 850 to win the Big Ten outright. They're like, yeah, no, like the schedule is like amenable. So that maybe you should maybe bet that. So it's kind of funny to see those diametrically opposed viewpoints. But should be no surprise to anyone here. I tend to side more with ESPN than I do CBS because I can see now. I'm not saying that the CBS version can't happen, right? For a lot of people, like when Steve Dace and I get together, it's like people say it's two opposing sides of the spectrum. In the offseason, yeah, you can look at it and say, like, I think there's optimism, partially because everything you hear tends to be optimistic coming from your sources and such like that. That's usually a big reason why. We've learned to not pay attention as much to the fall camp hype in terms of the things that are said in press conferences. As said, there's some questions across the team, which we're going to get to more here in the next segment to give the opposing viewpoint. But again, man, like the schedule, if they are, it's as simple as this. Can they be a road team? Doesn't mean they need to be a road team for every single game, right? They weren't in 2021. They lost at Michigan State in 2021, but they won every other road game. So are they a road team? Like, do they lose at USC? It's possible. Penn State didn't last year. I think that Michigan very well could be on that same trajectory. So I think that there's still a lot to like here. And I think I'm side more with ESPN. I still think 9-3, 10-2 is probably the likely scenario. 11-1 wouldn't terribly surprise me, to be honest. Like if they get through that USC game unscathed, or let's say Washington, the next game, they get through that Washington game unscathed. 12-0 is on the table, which is unbelievable to really kind of believe. But again, the schedule, they don't have Penn State, they don't have Oregon. And you take each game at a time. You don't have to. That's, I think, the other thing. People look at the schedule as a conglomerate and sit there and say, like, oh, man, right? Like, remember 2018, the gauntlet. First year of this show, I remember talking about the gauntlet and saying often, like, listen, you don't have to win all of these games right now. You don't. You just have to win one. You win one, then you get the next one. You win that, and then you get the next one. Kind of the same. And again, I love what the culture seems to be. I don't know if I have the same feeling as 2021, because I feel like there's just as much unknown, but I don't think we went into 2021 thinking like, yeah, this is going to be a barn burner. Let's go. So, anyway, there's that. So I want to get to a few concerns, and then, which we've already touched upon, and then a place that I feel pretty confident as we are in game week. Still unbelievable. We're going to get to those things here in just a moment. But before we do, August 26th, that's what, tomorrow? Tomorrow is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing long shot division winners, or you're ready to crown your Super Bowl champion before week one even kicks off, this is your moment. So go ahead, put in that Aiden Hutchinson MVP prediction. You know you want to. Go ahead and predict your Detroit Lions to win the Super Bowl. You know you want to. You can even parlay your division winner dark horses. Look at a different division. Just don't, NFC North, that's the Lions division. Okay, we've already got that covered. Visit FanDuel, the app today, and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only, Tuesday, August 26th. FanDuel, play your game. All right, there we go. So, still have concerns. This is gonna echo a lot of what Chris Ballas put out there, but I got similar intel of having some of these concerns here, right? Because the intel is the intel. Just remember that. But I got this from a pretty good source, that, there's some concerns in terms of like the wide receivers still. I think outside of Donovan McCulley, like it's nothing. This shouldn't be new, right? Concerns about the pass catching, even at the tight end position. As much as there's all the Marlon Klein talk, I even said last week, I want to see it. We're there. but hearing really good things about the run game, the run blocking, and all of that. And there's, again, just the general feeling. I've heard nothing when I've spoken to primary sources, secondary sources, people every single one of you have heard of, people, maybe not a lot of you have heard of, people in between. It's always been the same defensively, like best front seven in the country type talk. Like, that is the belief that they have. Now, as always, we want to see it. I think you'll get that challenge in week 2. Maybe not in week 1, but you'll get that challenge in week 2. So I think the most important thing in week 1 is just to see like some offensive sharpness, number 1, and then see defensively, like, can they pitch a shutout against a team like New Mexico? Because I know that some of the other really good teams would have. Even like 2021 against Western Michigan, I think they allowed 7 points. Can they pitch a shutout or allow just one score? I don't care if the score is like 31-7, right? That's like kind of like what you saw against like ECU and UNLV in those first couple weeks of 2023. I don't think this team's that, but nonetheless, I think like if you can see the team doing some things like that, right? Like it takes the final drive before the opposing offense and like players that we haven't really heard of and freshmen and all of that to be able to on defense for the other team to score. And it doesn't necessarily need to be like you remember those first couple games, the first 2 games of 2023, it was off to the races in the first half and then foot off the gas pedal in the second. Now, I would like to see more of a blowout situation because, again, we've only seen one in the Sharon Moore era, and that was against Northwestern. So I do want to see a blowout. But if it's 31-7, that's okay. I'd prefer it to be more like 41-7, 45-3, something like that. That would make you feel a heck of a lot better about their chances going in the next week. But also, you want to see him kind of be vanilla a little bit, right? Like, you want to see Bryce being able to do some of those things that you hope he can do. You want to see some of those downfield shots in action, all of that. But really, I want to see the run game going. If that's supposedly one of the things that's really working. I don't want people to underestimate the move from, again, we criticized Kirk Campbell a lot on this show last year. Love Kirk as a guy. That said, at the same time, I do not want you to undervalue the move from Kirk Campbell to Chip Lindsey. I've just had so many conversations about the value Chip Lindsey brings over Kirk Campbell, and it's essentially immeasurable. And it makes sense to go from a guy that is got an incredible track record of producing very good offenses, has got decades of play calling experience, compared to someone who didn't have a great tenure at Old Dominion and was thrust into his 3rd year being an offensive coordinator, and it didn't go well. Also without a quarterback. But there's just certain things that I'm not going to share on here, unfortunately, but that I've heard that make it like this should just be should be a massive addition by subtraction, let alone the fact that the addition is very good. And I don't think that should be undervalued. I think that could count for a lot. Now, is it going to be humming straight away? It rarely is. Maybe it will be, and we'll be like, oh, okay. It's like Chip Lindsey said on BTN, like, the offense can generally benefit from the playbook being pared down for game week, right? Because you're not installing everything and trying to work everything. You're trying to work the very specific things for the very specific opponent, and you have a much smaller menu to work with. I think that could be a huge thing for this team, but we'll see. I'm pretty confident that the offense, it might take a little while, but unlike what some people say, like, oh man, like Bryce is going to have to be this and this, and they play Oklahoma, and oh, he's going to have to do this. Like, no, he doesn't. Doesn't have to. He just, as Steve Day said, just needs to be a guy, just a guy. You can lean on your defense. You can lean on your run game. And you just got to be able to keep it honest. Like, yeah, Oklahoma's probably going to say, Bryce, we dare you to beat us with your arm. You got to oblige them to some degree so they back off enough, right? Think J.J. McCarthy in 2022. Again, everything I've heard indicates that Bryce now is, well, we said it before. And then this was something that Connor had said after seeing him at Belleville. He's like, Bryce now is already where JJ was when I left Michigan. So, okay. Now, there's still a lot of learning curve. JJ at least had a lot of time on task in actual games, so you got to see some of these things happen in real time in real games. But you got to like a lot of where this can go. But we have to see it, and we're finally going to be able to on Saturday. It's unbelievable. And it feels like fall. We're running in 50-degree weather this morning. Compared to 80-something 2 weeks ago, listen, I'm not ready to get rid of that weather. Let's keep the 80s here, even in the morning, for a little while longer, please, before we just move right into fall, winter, please. All right, that's going to do it for us today. Tomorrow, we are going to react to press conference stuff from today, Wednesday. I'm not really sure how we're going to structure this. Wednesday, I don't know if we're going to keep on press conference stuff or we're going to do Jack Tuttle, which will be later, or if we're going to do Jack Tuttle on Thursday. We're doing the talk on Thursday. I don't know if I'm going to do it Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday is when it's going to air. So we'll figure all that out in time. Anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We will be back soon. Peace.